Interplanetary Postman, your first job of the day, deliver us the moon. Join us as we journey not only into space, but also deep into the human psyche, an intense exploration of humanity's struggle both outwardly and inwardly. This gonna get deep. Hold on to your seats, we're going to the moon. Just quickly guys, this being such a story driven game, it's inevitable there may be mild spoilers along the way. We'll keep those to a minimum though, and nothing of the mid to end game will be revealed. Also, if you like this video, please don't forget to like and subscribe, it helps a lot. Right, let's see about this moon gig. So there's a storm coming, literally and figuratively, and you need to all ass up to that rocket before it arrives. No pressure, but you might just be the last chance we have to save humanity. You see, until a few years back we had a new energy source which we beamed directly from the moon to receivers on Earth. That was until one day it just stopped. Now it's up to you, brave adventurer, to venture there and see what happened. This is more than just a sci-fi yarn though. It's as much a game about the human condition as it is space travel. As with any good narrative, there's much more than just black or white or good and evil. There's that very real grey area that muddles what's right and wrong, and how context and perspective can turn a bad guy good or a good guy bad. There are no easy answers or decisions here, but there are decisions to be made and people who will make them, just like real life. Very few people in history would think themselves as the bad guy, I'm sure, and yet that is how we and history may look at them. And that applies to this game for sure. This is a science fiction, but when you really get into it you realise that it's not fantastically so. There aren't teleporters to magically transport yourself from point A to point B, no mega alien super monsters jumping the height of a 3-storey building to feast on your brain, and no cows floating in space. 6 bonus points if you get that reference. This is make-believe, but importantly, it's believable make-believe. Monsters aren't your enemy here. That isn't to say there aren't any enemies though, rather the battle is against the elements and the harshness of space. Your journey to the moon's orbit is arduous, your descent from the space elevator, which is based on real science by the way, to the moon surface is a struggle, and navigating the derelict station on the surface is certainly troublesome. You slog along every step of the way, and it doesn't take long until you are utterly invested in the outcome. It's never convoluted or filled with needless exposition. Instead, the backstory is fed to you in snippets as you progress through the game, finding notes and video and audio clues along the way. This ensures you're always eager to see what's around the next corner and determined to realise the secrets of what happened on the moon. The scope of this game is vast and can be seen in the audio and visuals. Unfortunately, we're still in the process of upgrading our rig, so this was tested on a 3.4 GHz CPU with 24 MHz of RAM and only a 1050 Ti GPU, meaning that playing anything higher than the mid-range settings left an unplayable frame rate. Even with those settings, the game still looked great though. You get a chance to bug it across the moon's surface at some point along the way, and the experience is superb. If, like us, you have an interest in space, then there's something almost primeval about the experience. The atmosphere overall is creepy, tense, chaotic and even serene, sometimes all at the same time. The audio is very effective throughout. There's the constant heavy drum of the space machinery which felt really authentic, and we do recommend you play with the headphones to experience it best. Giving you a sense of vastness to your surroundings. The musical score was on point, deep and penetrating without ever overstepping its boundaries. Your protagonist is silent for the most part, which means body language and sound is required to successfully portray what they might be feeling, and here it certainly works well. The core mechanics of the game involve a lot of puzzle solving. Too difficult to solve, it would likely have affected the pacing of the game. Too easy, it would likely have made the mechanics seem pointless. However, the balance is spot on in Deliver Us the Moon. Challenging without being needlessly difficult. I can genuinely say we didn't have to seek out for the single puzzle, so no Google, which is usually the case when we're playing through these type of games. and only a couple of times did I get stuck enough I had to stop and scratch my head for a minute. The game doesn't hold your hand though, and offers only a very basic idea of how to progress, but look around and the answers are always there. In short, it felt super intuitive. What helps this along is the controls work well. There are actually some platforming aspects at times which could have been disastrous considering your clunky spacesuit in microgravity or no gravity at all. Fear not though, as it does work well. The only aspect I didn't much care for was the sections with no gravity. This is perhaps being unfairly critical though, as it does work as you'd imagine it would in space with no gravity, so inertia is key, and unfortunately that makes it difficult to move around in real life. It isn't too bad though, and those sections are in the minority anyway. Obviously no game is perfect, but to find fault here would be being picky. Sure, my character could have just jumped off the ledge rather than go all the way around an hazardous area. Sure, there were 2 seats in the rocket and for some reason he went alone when 2 people would surely give better odds at mission success. Sure, your little robotic sidekick could surely have done more to help without you having to control him. It does have an AI chip after all. And sure, the oxygen tank attached to your spacesuit would probably be able to hold more than just shy of 3 minutes of oxygen. None of this takes away from the experience though, and to highlight any of that stuff would be being picky, so I won't. Smiley face with a winky emoji. What makes Deliver Us the Moon so impressive though is that it comes from Kyoken Interactive, who are an indie developer. The scope, appearance, story and gameplay would suggest a much bigger, tried and tested developer made it though. The fact that isn't the case is very impressive, and we'll definitely be keeping an eye on them for future releases. What counts is that Deliver Us the Moon makes a lasting impression. Even as I write this review, I'm still pondering the motives and decisions of the characters. What would I have done in that situation? How would I have reacted? There are times throughout when one may disagree with the choices somebody made, but even so, you understand why they made them, and perhaps you'd even do the same. To steal a quote, what does it mean to be human? To be good, to be moral, to be all 3 at once. It means that flawed beings often must choose between 2 flawed options. Thanks so much for watching guys, hopefully you enjoyed the video enough to like and subscribe to our channel. Also please check out our social media, links in the description for our offers and giveaways that we often have going on. Take care guys, and don't forget to stay pro.